Warm welcome from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm Reda from the Geneva Learning Foundation. By now you know me and hopefully recognize me. Let's see, today is exciting General Assembly. We're going to be kicking off the country teams. There's going to be a lot going on today. We have the first outcomes, the first results from the ideas engine that I'm going to share with you, and we're actually launching the country team, so we'll be sharing all of the details about that. This is the one General Assembly that you do not want to miss. Of course, you may not be able to attend each and every meeting or session. The recordings are always available for you if you can't make it, but it's definitely not the same as being there with us. And why is it such an exceptional thing to be here with us? You can see here, we almost hit 3,000 people who have confirmed their participation in the Peer Hub. So for the Anglophones, English speakers, we have 1,667 people who confirmed their participation. That is remarkable, a remarkable number of immunization staff from all levels of the system, from over 90 countries who have joined together and who are going to start acting. It's one thing to have an idea. Today we're actually going to talk about how to begin the process to turn those ideas into action. Just a few practical things. So if you want to make your message visible to everyone, make sure that you select the option all panelists and attendees where it says in the chat. That way all of your fellow colleagues will see your messages. Second, I don't see any questions in the Q&A yet, so if you do have questions, you click on the Q&A button, and don't forget to vote for the best questions. That's an important part as well. That will help us surface the best questions, so we can, or the questions most people want the answer to, so we can try to answer them. Now, for anyone who is still having difficulties of any kind, here is the solution. Here's the remedy, all right? Alain Blestatsinku, my colleague, is holding every day from Tuesday to Friday a tutorial session, a support session to help you. He has no other reason to be there at 11 o'clock Tuesday through Friday other than that he wants to help you. And he's been helping scholars for years, together with many other scholar alumni who are volunteering their time to help you. So please, if you need help, don't suffer in silence. You can do whatever is holding you up. If you can't figure out your password in the ideas engine, you can't log into learning.foundation, you can't figure out how to connect to your country group. Those are three of the most, let's say, popular ones. You can certainly, get help, and he will fix your problem. All right. Alain, is that a promise that if a scholar comes to your session, to your daily session, he or she will leave with his problem solved?
Absolutely. Good afternoon again, Reda. So it's been from the beginning, we saw amazing support and guidance. If you start by asking your question, what is your problem? And what is important here is we have a technical guidance, step by step, showing you exactly how to perform the task that you want to. So you can come with your computer, you can even share your screen yourself, and we'll walk through the step with you, and you will see how amazing it is. So I would like to thank all alumni, scholar alumni, Reda. They're there because we are not alone. We have scholar alumni. They have been there before, and they're ready to support. So we have Martha, Alima, Boma, and much more who completed successfully a course, but who are there because they really want us to make sure that we have access to all the platform, and that we are using exactly the tools that we have for our COVID-19 response. So yes, Reda, the answer is yes. Please come with me tomorrow from 11 a.m. Geneva time until Friday, and let's have fun.
All right, thanks Alain. So there's no problem that we cannot solve if it's technical in nature, but then you're really finding the time, making the effort. We cannot do that for you. All right, we'll do as much as we can to help you. But again, if you are stuck, we'll be there to help, as long as your commitment and your will, the commitment you made when you applied to the Peer Hub, is still there. Now, if you can't make the session because that time is you are at work or you have a meeting or you're busy, one is that we make the recordings available to you. That's one. And second, there's a form which allows you to share with the scholar team. So I'm going to post a link here, and this you can use at any time of the day or night. So if you're working late at night and you just need help, send your question. Going to turn to Alain again. What do you do, Alain, and the rest of the team with these questions that scholars may submit at any time? Where do they go, and who looks after them?
Absolutely. Thank you, Reda. This is when you use that form to type the problem, to describe the problem you're having. So one of us will definitely join you by email. So we will send you an email with, depending on the support you need, even our WhatsApp number, our Skype number, ID, so that you have a written support, or we even have a section that is like using Skype to walk through the step with you with your computer. And what is good here, Reda, when you do that, you have an individualized support. So it's a direct support that we are giving to you. So please don't hesitate. This is how we do that. We use all the means, all the digital means that we have to really make sure that you don't have any problem. And then I would like to say thank you to all of you in the room here who had our support, because they were very collaborative. It was really a pleasure to help you to walk that step. So and then we hope that you were able to perform your task the way you wanted. So thank you, Reda.
Thanks, Alain. All right, just a quick checklist. By now, if you haven't joined the Telegram group for the Peer Hub, we know there's lots of messages. You can mute it, but you will see important announcements go through the Telegram group for the entire Peer Hub. So make sure you don't miss the announcements. There's a way of muting the chatter, and I think there's been increasingly good discipline about not sending frivolous messages. When you send your message on the main Telegram group, 1,220 people, 1,221 phones will buzz all over the world because of your message. So please give due consideration to what you are submitting. Second, the country group on Telegram and Skype. If you haven't found that by now, please do so. Join Alain's support session tomorrow, because activities for the country groups are kicking off today, as you'll see. Now, just a quick recap. You can see last week was Ideas Engine week 1. You joined the Ideas Engine. You shared experience and ideas. I'm going to tell you how amazing that has been, and give you a recap in the next few minutes. But what I want to focus on already is, what is your objective this week? So this week, you're actually going to prepare for the next 4. You can see exercise 1, week 1, 2, 3, 4. That is going to be to have you focus on a project. This is not a course project. This is actually what your boss, your Ministry of Health, your employer is asking you to do in response to the pandemic, how you are adapting and changing in response to the pandemic. That is what we're asking you to focus on. And we're going to challenge you to develop a short, concise plan for specific actions that you're going to take with respect to the goals that you already have with respect to the pandemic. So we'll start giving you the details about that this week, throughout the week, on learning.foundation in the Telegram groups, and then we'll give you the formal briefing and your mission on Monday. So that is what is coming up. Now, what you did, and this is where it gets very, very interesting. In less than a week, because it takes a couple of days for people to figure out what this is, log in, and so on. We've had 879 ideas and practices submitted, and that was as of this morning, so I'm expecting that there will be more. 1,301 comments in the Ideas Engine, almost 2,000 comments on Learning.Foundation, and if you are paying attention to the activities in Learning.Foundation, we also ask you to start sharing key country-specific documents. So we've already received 246 of those. Now, some of you may remember that we set a deadline for last Friday to submit your idea or practice. So in response to this exceeded our expectations, and we are therefore keeping the Ideas Engine open. It seems like there's so many good ideas and practices, it wouldn't make sense to just say, okay, we've had enough. So if you are, and that is a good thing for those of you who may be a little late, or maybe you missed the deadline, you still have a chance of sharing your practice, all right? That's one important message. And if you've already submitted one, you now have a chance to share more, all right? Now, let's look at what kinds of ideas have been submitted and shared. And we've talked about the volume of ideas. We'll also ask Dr. Francois for his initial feedback about the quality of the ideas that you're sharing and some tips that he may have to help improve those ideas as you submit. You might want to submit a second or a third one. So you can see demand is right at the top. It's almost twice, the next, the health worker safety item. So really the same, this is consistent with what you said in the application, with what pretty much every survey I have seen says. This is the biggest concern. And so if you have an issue with demand, now is the time to start looking, go to the ideas engine, and this time start not submitting your idea, but looking at what other people have shared and thinking about it. Will this help me with the problem I am trying to solve? All right. And Amadou, who says, I was already feeling sad about missing the ideas engine. No, Amadou, you still have a chance. We couldn't say, okay, we've had enough ideas. We can only do that once we've actually solved the problem at hand, which obviously we have not. So we've decided to keep it open, working with Ian Steed, who's been leading on the ideas engine. Now, what system level are the ideas coming from? You can see that actually most of the ideas are coming from, in terms of sheer number, coming from the district level, followed by the national, followed by the regional. But you can see that all levels of the system are contributing. And I would like to especially encourage, if you are from the sub-district level, so the health facility, or it may be called something different in your country, I definitely want to encourage you to not give up. If you got stuck, if you had difficulties, whatever they may be, to keep at it in the ideas engine. Second, by job role, who's actually submitting the ideas? So you can see that overwhelmingly the ideas are coming from Ministry of Health staff. And that is, again, consistent with who is in the peer hub, but it is an impressive testament. Civil servants in some countries may not be seen as those with ideas. They're perceived rightly or wrongly as those who carry out tasks. But obviously, in the same face of something as unprecedented as the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone is having to adapt and change. And that means applying your creativity in order to actually execute on the instructions and the plans that you receive from your employer, from the Ministry of Health. The fact that we have a lot of NGO staff, a lot of WHO staff, immunization partners, consultants, other UN staff contributing. That is wonderful. To answer Sahini's question about the level of applicability, we don't know that yet. This is what the job roles or what people put in their profiles if they decided to submit an idea for another level or for a job role different from theirs. That may be, but would be the exception rather than the rule, I think. Now, we want to acknowledge, and this is going to be very small text, otherwise it would have taken us 50 slides, to recognize that already 705 of you, I couldn't think of what a better term than to call you idea generators, all right? And so, Alain Blaise, if he hasn't already, I thought, is going to share the PDF for the Peer Hub slide deck for today, so you can find your name and make sure you're there in the actual listing to have your work recognized. You can also see how many ideas each individual has submitted. So you can see the first page, the second page, and the third page here. So you can see 3 tiny type pages. And before we go any further, I'd like to ask you, even if you are sitting alone in front of your computer screen, if your colleagues might think it's a funny thing to do, I'd like you to really recognize and applaud the idea generators. All right, thank you very much indeed. And please share your sentiment. Yes, all right, we have yays and kudos and applause. Now, ideas are only half the equation, so before we go any further, and I do have a special mention for some scholars who truly went above and beyond last week in terms of the number of their submissions, in terms of what they brought to the ideas engine. I want to turn to Dr. Francois Gass, so a seasoned veteran of immunization, who to ask him, he has reviewed many, not all, of the ideas that have been submitted, and has some feedback for that, of the big picture of what's happening with these ideas and how it is going. Francois?
good afternoon, Reda, and hello to everyone online today. I'm happy to pursue, and that's interesting to see the slide. So first things, we were amazed by the amount of people who put on the IDEA engine and who submit an idea. And among those ideas, some were very, very concrete and specific. And I would like to stress what was the objective of the IDEA engine. As Reda has seen, as shared with you, there was 7 areas which were representing for all of you a challenge at the time of COVID to restore immunization. He mentioned demand, he mentioned safety of health personnel, communication with mother to restore demand, a logistic issue, campaign issue. What is expecting from the engine is that when you have chosen your specific challenge, you put on the idea engine the idea to overcome the challenge. And because in fact, we found the title is sometimes misleading because you put as a title your specific challenge, and to find your idea, we need to go down what you filled in on what are you doing and how to make to resolve the problem, the specific problem you mentioned. What we expect in the engine, no harm in saying your idea and what specific problem you try to address, but it has to be a concrete idea. And when you fill the form, you should say how in practice, how do you break down the action step to make your idea happen? How are you going to measure that your idea is making the progress that you expect and the result? How are you going to monitor that? So today we feel that we need to go in the idea of the 700 ideas which are on the idea engine, but we need to dig into the section on what are the concrete what are the concrete actions you need, what is your real main idea and the concrete action to make your idea happen. And I would say among some ideas, some are really magic, and we congratulate those who have made some magic idea. And I think I would like to mention, for example, ensuring an effectiveness of a campaign by an Ethiopian participant from UNICEF, if I remember well, who describe exactly they use, and concretely, they use the guidance of WHO to have a consensus that it was time to do a campaign to prevent a measles outbreak based on the analysis. Then he described concretely every step they did at every level to make sure that there will be a high coverage in total safety net. And he was very detailed. And I hope that his experience can be shared and useful to all of you that may soon have to do or have done polio SIAs, measles SIAs coming along. This was an important one. I think we've seen also some on the community part. Let me talk about the human resource first. You know that all your staff and vaccinator have been used on COVID. And some countries like Madagascar and few others have decided to recruit paramedics, give a contractual agreement to students to make them complement the need to maintain routinization because the workload prevented the vaccinator to do their current work. Some have made an idea like having daily session in order to space the number of women who attend. So there is sort of a lot of beautiful ideas. Another one I found very useful was to, where it's possible, to use the telephone and the registry to call the mothers and say, your child needs immunization, he has dropped out, it's in your file, and this is the date, and you can come, it will be safe. So we want the number of ideas to multiply in the idea engine. So my recommendation when you put more idea is to make sure that you don't put in the title your goal, but you put your idea to reach and to overcome that challenge. I hope my guidance is very clear. This will help people to understand your idea and maybe to use it in their exercise later. Now you will have to dig when you see the challenge. Is this in one of your challenge? You will have to dig in what they have written to find out the idea in it and how it is implemented. Thank you. to all.
Thank you very much, Francois. That's very helpful. And yes, as I was just showing on screen, some people have gotten confused because it asks you for a title, and as Francois just said, it is not to say that you're Mr. or Doctor. It is to actually describe not the challenge. So the title is not demand or human resources or measles campaign. It's just try to summarize in a short sentence or a phrase what the idea or practice is, that actually describing it, summarizing it. That's really the key. So that's a practical advice. Was one more thing, though. I think that some people last week went above and beyond. First of all, I think it's really, truly amazing, truly remarkable to collect this many ideas in a structured manner over the course of a week. But I want to give a special mention. I'm going to move my face out of the way to scholars. Sorry, unfortunately, there's more than one, as you can see. So here you can see all of the individuals who submitted 2 stories. I want to especially and warmly commend and applaud them. So a round of applause, please. And some of you have been asking if you were constrained to submitting only one idea. Of course not. The whole point is to collect as many of the practices happening on the ground that are making a difference, helping you to adapt and change in the time of the pandemic. Second is still, so this is still plural, scholars who submitted more than 3 ideas. And here I am going to take the time to read their names. So first of all, Atahir Abu Bakr with 7 ideas, Lansana Bongora with 6 ideas, Olivier Ja with 5, Loretta Ahuokpeme, 4, Minton Edith Jenanta Kochofa, 4, Ahmed Ejaidi, Akosua Gima Omari Sasu, Trésor Jibikilai Chalusa, Mohamed Orenin Otaru, Sekou Amadou Sangare, Umar Traore, Nasiru Umar, Suleiman Abdul, Kadri Nuhu, Mala Abdullahi, Bruce Andriamino, Gloria Archibong, Kuramudu Berete, Ahmad Habibu, Wedraogo Ilyasa, Jules Lafondo Kasango, Marcelin Makaya, Linda Matadi, Gaston Ngala Mulume, Janengo Enjan Bumuni Nikiema, Valeri Sangwa Muzimba, Sabitu Sanusi, and Solange Wegang Udam. Thank you. And bravo to all of you who've submitted ideas. And again, it is not too late. You can still contribute if you haven't done so already. Now, the next one is likely to be of interest to everyone as well, especially as we're launching the country groups today. So you can see here the number of ideas per participant by country. So, of course, countries with the largest number of participants submitted more ideas than those who only have few. So we wanted to find a way to truly measure the performance of each country. And we thought that the number of ideas by participants by country would be a good way to do it. And there were definitely some surprises. The countries with the greatest number of participants did not necessarily end up in the top of the ranking. You can see, for example, that Libya had 4 ideas, but had a score of 4 with our metric. Japan had a score of 2. We actually verified that one, and it is a professional who may be in the room from Afghanistan who did his studies in Japan. South Sudan also has a score of 2, followed by Tanzania, Guinea, Benin, Liberia, East Timor, Niger. Now, you can see number 9 is blank, and that is because some people did not indicate what country they are from in their profile. Senegal, Somalia, Nigeria, Madagascar, and Bangladesh. Those are the top 15 looking at this ratio as an indicator. So once more, I'd like to encourage you to read your experiences. Sharing ideas is step 1. It is not it is not everything you need to do. It is how you get started. You realize that you have ideas, that what you have been doing in the last few months is about adapting and changing for the pandemic, to meet it where it is, and to make sure you can maintain immunization services as it goes on. So this week, we actually shared these steps last week, but if you go back, let me go back to the learning.foundation website. This contains all of the instructions that you need. And you see that for Ideas Engine week 1, if you can now find ideas similar to the one that you read or to the ones that you're interested in. You can go in. This explains how to read other people's experiences and ideas. Where it gets very convenient is if I want to find out, for example, about polio, I just type polio into the Ideas Engine, and boom, I have all of the submissions that mention the word polio. So this becomes, the more ideas we have, the more powerful a tool this becomes for you. All right. There'll be other uses for potentially, we're discussing with various partners who are interested in using the ideas, and we'll determine together how. But this is first and foremost for you to use as you do whatever your Ministry of Health is asking you to do, whatever your employer is asking you to do. Now, one really important thing is you can see here that, for example, if I thought that this idea, now this, polio campaigns in COVID-19 era, we'd actually like that title to tell us a little bit about what is actually being done with respect to polio campaigns. But here's something really important. You can now vote for, if you think this idea is exceptionally good, if it's especially useful to you, then you can grant up to 10 votes, all right? And you have a pot of 10 likes. And so you have to decide where you're going to put them to indicate that these are really the ideas that you feel are strongest. And it's okay, you don't have to read everyone, but that is really one of the ways in which you can help surface the most useful, relevant ideas. Now, that was technically last week, but you're welcome to keep doing this, because the point is that starting preparation this week and then kicking off next Monday, you're going to be working on a project. Now, we thought about calling it action plan. In some countries, there seems to be an issue. There are too many action plans and so on. Call it what you want. The bottom line is what we're going to ask you to do is, in a structured way, working together with people from all over the world, you identify a problem, a challenge that you want to work on. It's going to have to be specific. Saying, I want to work on demand for vaccination is not going to be good enough. It's going to have to be specific. And then the point of going back to the Ideas Engine is not to say, oh, that's so interesting, that people have all these ideas. It's really, you have your challenge in mind. What do you want to do? And you know what you want to, the problem is that you're trying to solve. Go back to the Ideas Engine and find the ideas that are going to be helpful to you. And just one recommendation, you'll understand why when you start working on the project. Each idea actually has a number. So you can see here, there's an ID number here. It's small here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah. So here you have the ID number. That's the quickest way of noting when you find an idea that's useful to you. Write down the ID, because not the IDEA, but the ID number, because that's the quickest way that you're going to be able to find it. So vote, find reference ideas and practices that you can use, not just any. Whoops, this is not supposed to be there. I always do the last minute edits during the meeting, that you can use for the problem that you're trying to solve. So this is not an academic exercise. We're not asking you to do this as a theoretical project or a course project. The project you're going to be working on during weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the exercise is going to be your project about something that you want to do to turn ideas into action. So that is going to be your focus in the coming weeks. This week, if you have submitted an idea, go and vote and comment and pick the ones that you will use. If you haven't, now's the time to catch up and to contribute more ideas. And then the weeks throughout the month of August, you'll be working on this project together. Now, just some tips. Again, going back to Learning.Foundation, you can see here you identify your challenge. That's number 7 in Learning.Foundation. That's the 7th item. And then I do want to explain a little bit about how this process of sharing country-specific resources works. So if I go back here, I want to share. So under item 8 in Learning.Foundation, share your country-specific resources. Now, many of you we have almost 300 documents. So these are country Ministry of Health action plans for COVID-19 response, Ministry of Health plans for maintaining immunization services, restarting campaigns, whatever it may be, vaccination coverage surveys, both local, regional, national, from all levels. Whatever you think will help you or will help others, figure out how to take action. And this can be local data. If there's data you collect every month that you're able to share with others, you certainly can. So here are some suggestions of the most obvious ones. And the point of sharing them is to make them available to other people from your country, but it's also that colleagues from other countries can look at what is the situation in your country using the data that you are able to share. So that is the point of sharing country-specific resources, again, part of getting you ready to work on your project. All right. And so what you're going to do is you're going to analyze the challenge to build your project. And then really the core focus is not on analysis. This is not, you need the analysis in order to decide what you are going to do. Your Ministry of Health probably by now has a plan for the pandemic, probably has a plan for immunization services. So that is you have the purpose. What you need to figure out is how to execute on that strategy or on that plan. Actually make it happen in your context with all of the things that are specific about where you work. There is no one-size-fits-all recipe, and so you are going to be the ones to figure out how to act on the plan. So we're not asking you to do anything other than what your employer is asking you to do. We're simply offering a way of supporting you in that work by connecting with other professionals who have the same challenges that you have. All right, I'm keeping an eye on the Q&A, but the team is so quick at responding to them, which is a wonder to see. I don't even have time to read them. Now, with respect to preparation for the plan, you have, just like you have the technical support sessions, you have problems with logins, passwords, you want to understand what's going on, what are all these groups, all these email messages. That's a technical support session for Alain, with Alain. If you want to discuss your idea, you want to make sure your idea is sort of ready to submit. You have questions about your challenge. You have questions about the project. That is the daily lightning session from Tuesday to Friday. So it's also every day. You're not expected to join every day. You join when you need help or if you want to help others. Charlotte, would you like to tell us a little bit about these sessions?
All right. Thank you, Reda. Good afternoon, evening to everyone, and great to have you in this session. So these are just like lightning session, fast food sessions that are held with Francois Gaz and myself every day, Tuesdays to Friday, 6 p.m. Geneva time. And there we have opportunities to dive into ideas that are shared by scholars. And Francois Gaz actually takes the time to dissect them piece by piece and give very useful advice on how they can be enriched and how you yourself can get to use those ideas in your own context to improve upon your immunization performance. So we continue to look forward to having you as from tomorrow up till Friday, 6 p.m. Geneva time. They are optional, but yet they're very useful. I'm sure those who attended last week, we had up to about 100, 150 participants. They can testify how useful those sessions are. Thank you very much, Reda.
Thanks a lot, Charlotte. So somebody just asked, I think that question has now been answered. How do I access my countries, the resources that have been shared by people from my country? The answer is in the same post. That is why in the first week, we told you, take the time to read the information we share. There may be a lot to read, but get through it once. You won't have to go back again. You won't have to ask the question again, and your life will be much, much easier. You'll be able to get much more out of the Peer Hub for yourself. So in order to answer that question, I look at the post here, and here I have a big red button that says click here to see all the country resources. So when I click on that, what happens? This opens a Dropbox folder. Now you do not need to have a Dropbox account to access these. And here all of a sudden you have all the country folders. So for example, if I were to go to, let's try Nigeria. If I go to the resources that have been submitted for Nigeria, you can see here, all right? And you can see the name of the submitter and then the name of the resource. So you can see a lot has been shared already here, all right? And so you can find for most countries. So if you want to find info, and this is not, don't do it unless you have a specific purpose in mind. Like you want the latest coverage figures, go to your resource folder or ask your country group if you cannot find it there. So that's part one of this meeting. As you know, there is a part two, and that is the, let me bring myself back up. That is the launch of the country teams. So the first thing, and the one last round of applause for today, And let me tell you why. This is really worth applauding, is that when we sent out the call for applications, if you remember, we asked you, would you be willing to volunteer to serve as your country's COVID-19 focal point? 310 people answered yes, all right? Now, almost 500 expressed interest in serving as team leaders, and I think the most incredible number in terms of solidarity with your peers, with your colleagues, is that more than 1,000 said, I'm not ready to be team leader, but I will support the team leader from my country. So let's have one last round of applause, because that is truly exceptional. You decided you were interested in this. There's no way to prescribe this to you, and yet you were there when you were busy filling out the application. So let's have one last round of applause, please. Now, here's what's going to happen. We're going to have the inaugural meeting today for your country team, for your country group, all right? And now each country group, after this one, every country group will decide when and how they meet. In some cases, country groups are already well established and they already have their meetings scheduled and so on. In some other cases, it's going to be the first time that your country group is meeting. So your objective, again, there's a very clear, simple purpose, is to figure out who is going to be your country's team leader and who is going to be the COVID-19 focal point by Friday of next week. All right. Of course, if that's not enough time for some reason, we can discuss it. If there is an active country team and you say you want a more extensive process and so on, fine. But again, we want to keep it simple and to the point. Now, here's some suggestions. At the end of this General Assembly, you're going to go into Skype and you're going to use your country's Skype link to actually connect with all of the other participants from your country. There's a few countries that are too large, that have too many members to meet on Skype, so they will meet elsewhere. We've made those arrangements already. But for any group that has less than 50 participants in the in Telegram, that is how it's going to work. So we suggest, and these are suggestions, that you establish the purpose of the country group. You discuss the shared rules for how you're going to manage and run the group. Going to do some introductions, and then we're sharing with you in the same slide deck that Alain Blaise Tatsinku shared in the Telegram group. You will find the short list of candidates for country team leaders and focal points. All right, we suggest again that the meeting, you keep it short and to the point, and keep in mind that everyone is busy, and to avoid long drawn out meetings. So we've shortlisted from that list of almost 1,800 people who volunteered. We shortlisted focal points. Here you can see the criteria. We actually worked by using exclusion criteria, so negatives of these rather than the way they're written here. But these are the expectations for focal point candidates, and these are the expectations. Whoops. Now, with more than 1,100 applicants from Nigeria, it's one country where we shortlisted only candidates who are from the national level. We understand there's a federal system, but we would expect, our expectation would be, one is there's already an active country group, would be to work on the regional leadership, but ultimately we need one person to report back to us, to the peer hub, to the network. And so that was the specific criterion for Nigeria. You can see the other criteria here. And these, again, are suggestions. So we have put together terms of reference for team leaders, and we do have a certain number of conditions in order for the country group to be recognized by our team and by the peer hub. That first condition is that you ultimately select one person for the team leader role and one person for the COVID-19 focal point role. We'll be asking those individuals to submit a report for the country team. And if we get more than one report, we will not be able to recognize either the team leader or the COVID-19 focal point. Each one of them will have a report that they will submit on behalf of their country's participants. And last year, when we first did this, we ultimately, for one country, we had 8 reports for the country. And then the country, we shared the names of the people who had submitted, saying, I am the team leader, so I am submitting. We shared those names back with the country team. The country teams met as they decided to, and ultimately we got only one report. So that is our very practical practical process for selection and or designation or recognition of team leaders and focal points. Now, the terms of reference for team leaders are also included in the full slide deck, but that is not going to be the point here. Let me just see. And then what I do want to go through are the shortlisted candidates for team leaders by country and for the focal points as well. So in some cases, we have some questions. Maybe there was some confusion from the candidate or selected the wrong item. In those cases, those items may be in red. So this is for Algeria, Australia, Bhutan, Cameroon, Canada, Ivory Coast, DRC. So these are supposed to be only the English language ones. So I'm a bit confused by these. Charlotte, can you explain? Is there a confusion?
Actually, that's why I put those particular ones in the red radar, because they are French-speaking countries. So under normal circumstances, they were not supposed to be here. So actually we had some French-speaking or some English-speaking, English-speaking from those countries. So that's why they are in red.
So we'll have to reconcile those, because obviously they need to go to the Francophone side, unless they're actually active in the Peer Hub as Anglophones. All right. We only have one country where we have recognized the need for two groups, one for French, one for English, and that is the country of Cameroon. We will make this exception until convinced otherwise. For no other country, each country has an official language, and that is what we go by. Djibouti, Ethiopia, Gambia, Ghana, Guyana, India, Kenya, Lesotho. And you have the slide deck. It's in the Telegram global group. So if you haven't seen it, please go ahead and and you can go through this at your own leisure. And in fact, after we finish the General Assembly, we're all going to go to the Skype country groups, and I'll explain to you how to get there if you haven't figured that out already. So you can meet with your country colleagues and discuss how to follow up, so that by the end of next week, you have all designated your country's team leader and the COVID-19 focal point. So South Africa, South Sudan, Sudan, Syrian Arab Republic, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. Now, Charlotte, I noticed that in some cases you only have one person for a country. The intent was to give a choice by shortlisting candidates. What happened? How come there's only one person for some of these countries?
There are actually countries rather that we had just one person who indicated the interest to either serve as a country team leader or COVID-19 focal person. And then in other countries, just maybe just a few of them, is that actually no one meeting the criteria, just one person meeting the criteria that were spelled out for the positions.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, and again, this is not prescriptive. We are not going to tell you who should be your COVID-19 focal point or your team leader. That is your country group. Participants from your country will be sovereign to make that designation. However, that shortlisting reflects our experience and our recommendation based on what has worked in the past and based on our experience working with country groups since the Impact Accelerator last year. Goodson Mpumba says there's no team leader from Zambia. I think so. We had Zimbabwe, we have Uganda, we don't have Zambia. What happened there, Charlotte?
I may have to take a look at the slide deck. There's surely, let me just take a look at the statistic and I'll get back to you, Reda, please.
So if you don't see your country, or if you have an issue, Shalini Kare in our team and worked with Charlotte and with actually, and then the rest of the team contributed in various ways. Madagascar is actually on the Francophone side. So that is also included in the slide deck. Just keep going through the slides. I'm not going to go through it today. I want to leave some time for your comments and questions in response to this. But as you can see, most countries had many people interested, and by shortlisting, we're trying to make it simpler. In some countries, in one country, we had, I believe, close to 500 people who had volunteered, who said they were willing to volunteer in some way. So that would not be a reasonable ask for you to sort through, for a country group to sort through that many candidates. For the country focal point, so we have Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Barbados. Okay, so this obviously there's Bhutan and Burkina Faso. All right, I'm not sure what happened here. Bhutan, Cameroon. So that's Ethiopia, Gambia, Georgia, Ghana, Greece, India. Right, and I think I saw a question from Georgios, who's in the room with us. What if I'm the only one? Does that mean I'm automatically the team leader? Obviously, that doesn't really make sense, as you said in your comment, Georgios. But I would say if, that we didn't, this is obviously, in a way, this is a failure of marketing on our part, that we did not promote this to Western European countries that obviously have been on the COVID-19 front lines, or to North American colleagues. So, that's probably something we should look at in the next round of recruitment. We'll be opening up recruitment again. And maybe, Georgios, you can help us, connect with colleagues and help us figure out two things. One is, how do we make sure the Peer Hub is useful for you in Greece, just like we hope it is for someone who is in Ghana? And two, how you can bring the experience of Greek health professionals or health professionals working in Greece and other European countries to share that experience with people from African and Asian countries that are the predominant makeup of the peer group for this inaugural cohort. India, Iraq, Kenya, Lesotho, Liberia, Nigeria, Oman, Pakistan, PNG, Sierra Leone, Somalia, South Sudan, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, Uganda. The USA actually has a shortlisted candidate for the COVID-19 focal point. Zambia. Okay, there you go. So it's just said that's for the focal point. Maybe there was no team leader candidate. And then Zimbabwe. Charlotte, is there anything you want to add to avoid any misunderstanding or confusion? So for Edego Ismaila, who says, I went too fast. Yes, I want to leave time to hear your voices and your questions firsthand. And then we're going to break up into the country groups. So Charlotte, is there anything you would like to add? Or Shalini, actually. And I realize for Shalini and colleagues in parts of Asia, it's actually very late in the evening. So especially appreciate your participation, Shalini. Are you there? Is there anything you or Charlotte would like to add? Yep.
Yeah. So there was no applicant from Zambia for the team leader, as you said, which is why you don't see a name there.
Okay, so it's that simple. Now, if there is no team leader, if there is no COVID-19 focal point, if the country group somehow does not manage to meet and come together, that's too bad for the country group. It really is in your hands. We're not, the country groups are going to be owned by the participants who dedicate time to it. That seems logical to us. We're not going to be interfering or pushing for country groups to come together or to meet on a regular basis. That is really not that is outside the scope of what we do. We can support, we can give feedback, we can respond, but we cannot substitute for your commitment. And if the commitment is not there in some countries, we've seen countries that obviously had many participants, but it did not happen. That's unfortunate. But that's, if that's how it turns out, that is the responsibility of the participants from that country. All right. So Shalini, while you're here, I do see a question from Umar Nazir who says, what about India?
We did have some candidates from India, and Rada's already shown the list. So there were 2 for the team leader, and I think there were 2 for the COVID focal point as well. So Alan has posted the slide deck, and what you can do is have a look at it in Telegram. So it'll make it easier for you to refer to it. And if you have any more questions, we'd be happy to answer them maybe on Telegram.
Great. All right.
Thank you. Over to you, Reda.
Thank you, Shalini and Charlotte, and to the whole team for putting this together. This is part of the infrastructure of the Peer Hub. So it's not an activity specific to the Peer Hub. Country groups were set up over a year ago, and many have kept on functioning and meeting and doing things, leading projects, coordinating projects, and so on in remarkable ways. And it is really in your hands what the group for your country becomes. With that shared purpose, with those commitments in line with what your Ministry of Health is asking you to do, using the best available global guidelines from the global partners. So now is, before we go into, so I want to ask, let me just lower the hands in the room, ask you if you have any specific questions or comments about the country group launch process that we are undertaking today. And while you think about that, now the instructions on how you share your Skype country group were shared last Monday. So if you haven't seen this page yet, I'm going to share the link, and I'm going to try to guide you through it. But again. So, and if you don't have the Skype app ready yet, you can go to skype.com. There's still time to actually download it, so you can join your country group for this inaugural meeting. This is just, there will be, all right, so Hini asks, what's the difference between the focal point and the team leaders? So very simple. Team leader makes a commitment to serve all of the country's scholars, both on COVID-19, but on any other activities undertaken by the country group. So the country group brings together the alumni, not only the participants in the Peer Hub, but it also includes all of the alumni from previous scholar courses across a variety of topics. The COVID-19 focal point is really focused on the specific activities of the COVID-19 Peer Hub. So that is how it is going to work. Ahmed Ejaidi asks another really good question. Says, for countries with one participant, should they form one group or can they join countries close to them? So Ahmed, that's a really good question. First of all, if you are the only representative from your country, or not representative, but participant from your country, congratulations. We are honored that you are there from your country in the Peer Hub. Yes, you can join neighboring countries if that feels right, and you can explain and get the response from the neighboring country group. We're also thinking, and Shalini is one of the people who in our team who's been advocating this, I think a little bit, is to have regional meetings for when there are really a number of countries where we have 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 participants. May not be enough to really congeal into a country group, but that is what. Right now, we haven't put that together. We may. So you're free to join somebody else's Skype group for the purposes here. So in just 8 minutes, you can see the purpose of the country group is here. You've joined the country group on Telegram, or should have. And then here's what you do to join on Skype. So you have the country group on Skype. And you can see here, first of all, you need Skype. And so you need to download Skype. You go to skype.com. If you haven't already, let me just show you actually how to do that. And let me see if there are any raised hands with anybody with questions. Please, definitely, you feel free to ask. Yeah. All right, so actually I already have, let me just sign out so you can see what this looks like. This is just my Skype account, so just go to skype.com. It will take a little bit of time to download the app depending on how fast your connection is, but that's also normal. Now, you need a link. This link is unique to your country group. If you join the Telegram group, you may have also joined the Skype group. They're next to each other. One is join chat and the other is join Skype. So for example, let's see. For Malawi, I would go down the list here to Malawi. And here is the link to join Skype. So I'm going to click on this link. And each of you is going to do this for your country. And in this case, it's asking me to open up my Skype app because I have the app installed. You should also be able to join from your browser. That really depends on your installation. Once you are in Skype, one person will need to start the call, and then once the call is started, you can all speak to each other. My first most essential piece of advice is make sure that you are muted unless you are actually speaking. For Satabdi Mitra, who asks, please post the Skype link of India. Allow me to remind you that these instructions were shared 1 week ago, and what Alain will very generously do if he hasn't already is to share the link to the Learning.Foundation here. This is the link to the post where you can find what we can't do is post everyone's country's links into the chat from this page. So you just scroll down, find your country, and then click on the join Skype link. So we'll be doing that in 6 minutes. Okay, I see 3 people with their hands raised. We're at least going to listen to one. We're looking for comments, reactions, thoughts about the country teams that will be launching in 5 minutes for the first time. Nasir, the floor is yours. I've asked you to unmute. Sabitu Sanusi, same thing. And then Abdullahi Balarabe. Sorry if I've mispronounced your name. Please go ahead, unmute yourselves. And I see 2 people with their device names, so Infinix Hot 8 and Infinix 06 Pro. Yes, Abdullahi, go ahead. The floor is yours. Please tell us where you're connecting from. What is your question or comment?
Yeah, sir. Good evening, everyone. Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yes, we hear you loud and clear, Abdullahi. What's your comment or question, please? And where are you connecting from?
Yeah, my question, connecting from Nigeria, Katsina State.
All right, welcome.
Yeah, my question is that what's the requirement for obtaining the certification after all the recent requirements for obtaining the certification?
So these requirements were also shared during the first meeting on the 27th of July. So if you missed that meeting, let me show you something. You can find the certification requirements are spelled out here in the Learning.Foundation website. Requirement number 1 is to share at least one idea in the ideas engine. Requirement number 2 is to be active in your country group. And requirement number 3 is to complete the peer review exercise that we will be doing throughout the month of August. So those are the requirements to qualify for certification in the Peer Hub for this first phase of the Peer Hub's activities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
For your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Does that sound? Have you submitted an idea? And do these sound like a reasonable and doable things for you?
It's very, very reasonable.
Okay, thank you very much, Abdullahi, for your contribution. Let's go to Infinix Hot 8. So Infinix, you may want to find somewhere in the Zoom app, there's a way for you to change.
Yes, I'm Nuhusani. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Nuhusani from Nigeria. What I have is that I have sent my idea in the idea engine. I didn't hear you mention my name and the list of the people that sent their ideas engine and ideas in the idea engine. I sent 2 ideas engine, one in outbreak response and one in safety immunization safety preparedness workers.
So we've shared the slide deck. You can double check that your name is there. I only read the names of the individuals who went above and beyond and submitted 3 or more ideas. So if you submitted 2, that is indeed above and beyond. Your name is there, but I did not read it out. I hope that clarifies.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Nasir, are you able to speak to us? Okay, maybe.
Hello.
Yes, Nasir. Welcome. Please tell us where you're connecting from. What is your question or comment about, as we're about to launch the country groups in 2 minutes?
I am Nasir Abdullah Assam calling. I'm from Nigeria. And my question is the team leaders here in Nigeria, I don't know, where are they how can we come in contact to each other so that we can see how to facilitate this particular idea of the peer group?
So the answer is very simple. In 2 minutes, you're going to be connecting to your country group. So let me go through the steps again. You will find you will find on this page, I have shared the link. So you need to make sure your login is working for learning.foundation, because that is where you need to access the PeerHub website on learning.foundation in order to be able to get to your country group on Telegram and on Skype. If you're not sure how that works, there's a very simple solution. You may not make your country group today, but make sure that tomorrow you join the technical support session with Alain Blaise Tatsinku. Alain Blaise will help you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Geneva time. I'm sure your country colleagues can tell you what time that will be in Nigeria. He will help you. He will show you, if you haven't been able to get into learning.foundation or submit your idea, he will be there to help you together with other experienced scholars. So to go back to the task at hand, we have the country groups here. So you should have your country group ready to go in Skype, or you should have already connected to your country group in Skype. If you're not sure, you can also ask your country colleagues in the Telegram group. And if you're really still not sure, you can still ask us here before we go. Modupe asks, is it compulsory to join both, or I can join only one of Skype or Telegram? No, so the one that you really need to join is Telegram. Skype we only use for one purpose, and that is to have this inaugural meeting here. Now, a country group may then choose to meet on Skype, but you can choose to meet on Zoom, on whatever works for you, all right? But the first one, we wanted to find a simple way for everyone to connect, and the simplest way we found, it's not perfect, but it works. It has worked well for us in the past, is Skype. So if you are ready, we are now going to bring this meeting to a close. And for everyone, the Global Assembly is closing, but your country's group meeting, inaugural group meeting, so quite probably the most important meeting to review the short list of candidates for the focal point and team leader roles, is starting right after this call ends. So I want to thank you once again. The list is, and the instructions are right here in learning.foundation. So let me do this one more time if you need to go here. And if you want to review, the recording will be available. I'll show you one last tip, which is at the very bottom of here, of learning.foundation, you'll find the recordings of the live sessions. So if you miss a session, you join late, you were disconnected because of technical problems, you can always go here. But for now, we want you to go to your countries group in Skype and start the meeting. Wishing you well. Hope you have a great, effective, productive meeting. Keep in mind the goals that you have. You need to, if you want your country group to be recognized, you need to come up with one focal point and one team leader, not 2 or 3. Then internally you can organize however you wish. But that is the brief for now. Thank you so much for your attention, for being so great in numbers today. And I hope you have productive, good meetings. Connected, what you're seeing on screen is just all the calls that are starting up in Skype. You can see Kenyan and Cameroon scholars are already connected. Zambia has just started their call, so you can get a blow-by-blow narrative of the calls that are starting all across the world for the COVID-19 era. Here, in fact, I'm on